Good evening. Welcome to the Scottish Football Social Club. Welcome to Premier Sports. Whether you're watching on X, live on YouTube, maybe on the telly or the app, great to be in your company. It feels like I say this every single week, but there is so much to get through. This show is no different, and delighted to tell you that one of the star men from Hearts' win at Celtic Park over the weekend will join us later on the programme. Cammy Devlin on the way later. That should be really good. He'll be hoping to be off to the World Cup next summer, as will Michael and Alan, I'm sure in a different capacity. We've got to start there, by the way. Al, what about that World Cup draw? That was a draw for the ages, and I'm only talking about the ceremony.
How long did that take, by the way? I was like, come on, get on with it. Dancing and singing and everything. But look, I was happy with the draw. I think there's some great games there. I think that the first game gives you an opportunity to get points on the board and then take it from there. So I'm really looking forward to it. The only thing I don't like is the times of the kickoffs if you're watching it from back home. That's annoying, but you deal with it.
I don't know what to do. Mikey, what is the strategy with the kids, right? Because, 2 a.m., first game against Haiti, I'm thinking, do you let them sleep, take the game, get them up early, switch the phone off, but you will be raging if you find out the result. And also, we've waited this long. It doesn't feel right not to watch it live. I don't know what to do.
Just get them on a flight and take them, Darrell.
Well, there is that. Is that your plan?
No, I was going to follow suit, see what you were doing.
Right, okay. Tell you what, if I can get tickets, I don't go many places these days, so I can't see myself getting to America. But you never know, Michael. I can't wait anyway. Listen, what a draw having Brazil. I know Morocco's tough. We'll come to that in other weeks, but what a draw. Just so good to be there. But we can't get into the World Cup in any greater detail. Just a bit of business before we get to domestic matters. The Scottish Football Social Club is brought to you in association with SBK and Premier Sports. SBK, a betting app that cuts out the nonsense, just straight up sports betting for folk who actually care about the game. Proper odds, no gimmicks. Right, as I say, we've got a lot to get through, so should we just push on? Should we start, Michael, then with one of the form teams now in the Scottish Premiership, in Aberdeen? Undefeated in 8, another good victory at the weekend for them, and 3 more goals.
Well, I think that's the most important thing, is obviously that they're starting to rack up the goals, because that's been the major issue for them beforehand. Away from home, a good solid victory. And yeah, it definitely feels like there's momentum building for Jimmy Tillin and for Aberdeen now. I've got to say, John McCracken's got to do a million times better there. I mean, Lazetic's strike, it's not carrying a great deal of pace. And palming it back into that area, you're just asking for for trouble. But I mean, Stuart Armstrong's free kick, a beauty. Starting to get a sense of things are building for Aberdeen. Some good build-up play in the final third. Al-Shish starting to come to the fore in a slightly deeper role. So I mean, somehow it feels like Jimmy Tillin's beginning to find a bit of a system that's working. But I keep saying this about Aberdeen. Until they solve the wing-back, particularly left wing-back situation, they're not going to be, as I feel, as strong as they could be. This is a great finish from Nisbet.
But maybe they can
finish,
sort that. Oh, what a finish. I'll come back to Kevin Nisbet in just a second. But maybe, Al, they can sort that problem position, if you like, out in January. Director of football is in. So maybe this upturn in fortune's coming for Jimmy Tillin at just the right time.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you definitely feel like they've turned a corner. There'll be players that they'll be looking at for January to come in and strengthen to help them kick on. Of course, Mikey, he mentioned that left wing-back side. I'm sure that's something they'll look into. But, I mean, just as well, see, from Dundee's point of view, we speak about it all the time, like the drop-off, like you don't really know what you're going to get. They struggle for goals. Look, I thought Aberdeen were good, especially in the middle of the pitch. When he was picking the ball up and driving, and then they've got the creative players round about. And the confidence is starting to come back with the victories and the results that they're getting. So they're in a good place right now. That's them into the top 6, and they'll be looking to kick on. But for Dundee, I do fear for them.
I'll come back to them in just a second. Michael, I don't like to pat myself in the back. You know that, right? But did I not say to you two last week, look at all the forward players Aberdeen have got. We're talking about 1-0s and everything. 6 goals in a week. They must watch the show.
Not really sure that's anything to do with you, to be perfectly honest, Darrell.
You're not
If
wrong.
you want to take the pat in the back, you go
I'll
ahead.
take it,
and do
Al.
You
I need
take
what I
it.
can get.
Aye.
But wait, listen, Michael, in all seriousness, what we did say was so many good attacking players and good options. Maybe it was only a matter of time. And there you go this week. It could have been probably should have been 6 points given St Mirren, the late goal they scored against the Dons during the week.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, even, regardless of that, it's been a sharp upturn in fortunes for Aberdeen, because, I mean, you just need to think back to the game in Athens in particular, and I've said this a few times as well for for Aberdeen, that game in Athens was so bad, and the league form building up to it. I know they'd got a couple of results just before, but it still felt like things were very much in its infancy. The game in Athens was humbling, and then it was followed up by the defeat against Hibs at Pittodrie, when Hibs were very good, Aberdeen were terrible. It could and should have been probably 3-0, but ended up 2-1 in the last minutes. Hibs getting a goal disallowed, Aberdeen scoring. And then you really felt like things for Jimmy Tilleen were on a precipice. You didn't know which way it was going to swing. Lutz Pfannenstiel comes in, and then it felt like that just gave him a little bit more breathing space. And obviously the results have, turned since then as well. So Aberdeen are in a far better position than, just 5-6 weeks ago. And I can tell you, I don't think it takes a rocket scientist to figure it out. The board must be, thanking their lucky stars that this has managed to sort of, turn, because I would imagine they were panicking a wee bit, thinking that this can't continue much longer. And thankfully for them, it's turned.
I think also we heard from Derek Ray a few weeks ago that Lutz Pfannenstiel, was a big fan of you, Mittelin. Maybe that little bit of positivity going on in the background as well, that was public knowledge beyond Derek as well. Mm-hmm. Maybe it has given the manager that feeling that he has the backing, the support of people above him. And maybe that's going to allow them to plan together for January and for maybe better times ahead again. We shall see. I do think this Thursday game, this game against Strasbourg, who are a class outfit, I've seen them in Europe this season, is going to be a real marker for them, a test of the progress, if you like. So we'll see what happens this week, Michael, but maybe we'll find out more about the Dons after that in the coming weeks. But just on Dundee briefly then, I know you mentioned it, Al. Alan, I'm not sure what to make of them, because I thought they were way too open at times in the first half. Here's a Dundee supporter getting in touch as well, talking about, fans being disconnected at the moment. They had a good spell second half when they were 2-1 down. I heard Stephen Presley saying after the game he was delighted with their usage of the ball at times, on the ball, one of the best games they'd played this season. But I don't know, they seem to be struggling to put it together, put it all together.
That's exactly how I would put it. From week to week, you don't really know what you're going to get. Sometimes they have a good defensive display, but it's too defensive and not got much threat going forward. And then other games, they are a threat going forward, but they're a little bit open. I thought they were far too open for me. I mean, yes, they got the goal after 60 minutes odd, and I think they had a couple of opportunities. They were trying to put pressure on to get back in the game. Unfortunately, they couldn't. But it's just too big a drop off from a good performance to then a bad one. You don't know what you're going to get. They don't score enough goals. I think it's only about 13 this season, so that's a problem area as well. And just defensively, just open at times.
When you see Dundee fans like that getting in touch, Michael, so it's a red flag, isn't it? If they feel a disconnection, that's just not a good thing.
For any support base to have a disconnect like that, it's far from it's far from ideal. So no, it's not. It's not a great situation for Dundee and for Stephen Presley to be in. But I mean, look, it very much is sort of Jekyll and Hyde with Dundee. It's difficult to really put your sort of finger on the pulse and get a sense of where they are as a team. The only thing that you can, sort of really look at as a barometer is the fact that they're sitting second bottom of the table, and that's not great. Having said all that, it's still very, very tight, in amongst a lot of the teams. But just starting to sense and feel that there's a bit of a gap there building, between Aberdeen and below. That really sort of sense that they're starting to pull themselves in contact with the teams that are above in the top six. And it just feels like those below are starting to get a little bit caught away from the Dons. And yeah, I mean, as much as you can say there's a tightness in the league still, it's looking like the opportunities for those teams that are nearer the bottom to try and get themselves in the fight for the top six is becoming a bit more of a long, punt, a bit of a stretch.
Agreed. We need to press forwards now. One of the performances of the weekend, Alan, from Hibs against Falkirk, who've been really hard to beat this season, but 3 goals, a couple from Kieran Bowie as well. Not sure what you think of the penalty, the Martin Boyle penalty. Is he clever? Because the defender doesn't also complain that much. I don't know. It looks quite soft.
See from a defender's point of view, see if the attacker gets in front of you, you're going to be in bother. Like any slight contact, any little nick. Look, Boyle's clever, but there is contact there, and he's in front of him. I think it is a penalty, but I think it was important for Hibs to put on a good performance, which I thought they did against a team that are going really well at this moment in time. Back-to-back defeats before this game, but they pressed them high. They went up against them, and it caused Falkirk to make mistakes, give the ball away. And some of the goals, I mean, Bowie score sheet getting to, I mean, that's a lovely finish. Somebody that shows confidence for me. And Campbell coming on, look at his movement. He is making sure the defender has no chance of getting that. Just be a simple movement forward. His instincts are there as a striker, gets another goal. So I thought it was a really important game for them. But look, Falkirk will be fine. I think they've done really well. They just came up against a really good team on the day.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Some Hibs fans getting in touch.
That message is absolutely spot on. But watching that game at the weekend, that was what was springing to my mind as well. That, when you look at the World Cup squad being fairly sort of settled, there's still got to be space for some people to make a run at it. And the likes of Josh Mulligan, for me, falls right into that category because he's full of energy, drive, enthusiasm, and quality. And that is, you desperately want to be able to inject that fresh blood into the squad. And Mulligan has got, I just think exactly what that message was saying there, a bright future ahead of him. And he gets better and better as this season's playing out. I thought he was outstanding.
Just so powerful as well. He's running when he picks up the ball. He just goes. I mean, I know there'll be a team that were looking at him in the summer that'll be very disappointed that eventually didn't get him, because when you see the performances that he's putting in, he's playing at a level now. So, fair play.
Kieran Bowie.
Just making the point there about the drop-off of the second half, and Falkirk did come very close, small margin to getting back in the game, and that'll be a bit of a concern. But I said I'd come back to Kevin Nisbet, I should say.
Oh, that's Rabsy again.
Rabsy. I know, mate. I got there in the end. But, with Bowie as well scoring goals, Michael, we know a lot of Scottish players are going to be playing out their skins to try and get themselves in contention for the World Cup. Yeah. Out of those two, who's the most likely? I think I know which direction you're going, but who's the most likely?
To what? Make their way into the squad?
Make the squad.
Yeah, well, for me, I think it's Kieran Bowie. Yeah. I think that, in the same sort of theme as what I'm talking about with Josh Mulligan, youngster, that enthusiasm, that almost the innocence of youth as well, in terms of they don't have any, scar tissues of previous, years. I don't just mean in terms of international football. I'm talking about just in their sort of careers as a whole. Yeah. And I think for Bowie, clearly there was a drop off from the first international window till probably about 2 or 3 weeks ago. There was about a 4 or 5 week period where definitely you could see it was starting to sort of weigh on his shoulders a little bit. But as Hutch just said there, those 2 goals that he scored yesterday in particular, that's a player that's got confidence back. The first one, the ball's barely at his feet and he's bent it into the corner, brilliant. And the second one, exactly like Alan was talking about, you see the run and the movement, that's absolute top drawer. Cross the defender, pins him and holds him where he wants him, and then he's able to just guide the ball into the back of the net. So for me, it would be Kieran Bowie, definitely. And I think he should be knocking on the door.
It depends who goes on a really good run, I suppose, Alan. I mean, the Nisbet goal was absolute class as well. And also that first game, because it's Haiti, in many ways, you want to play your most natural goal scorers. You'd hope that that's the game you're going to create
score goals
in. So maybe that changes the thinking. And obviously, Shankland, you'd expect, would have a strong chance for that game.
Look, we know Steve Clark likes his squad the kind of way it is. I think there's room for others to kind of make a late run for it. But ultimately, if we're just talking about the striker position, if you go on a run of form where you're scoring goals, you have to be picked. Like if you're scoring regular and these guys are playing at a level, they should be in the squad, because you get 3 opportunities to make it out of the group stages. And to do that, of course, defensively you have to be solid, but you need to score goals. You need somebody who's capable of taking those moments. And Kieran Bowie on form is capable of that. Shanklin is capable of that. You've got guys there that know where the back of the net is. So it'll be interesting. And I think everybody is going to obviously want to up the level from now to the end of the season.
Yeah, Kieran Adam just mentioned there as well, and the point he also just sent in. There's a few options, Michael. We'll talk about this as the season goes on, but that was a big win for Hibs, I thought, because they played well at times against Celtic, got close, but the Motherwell result prior, that just felt like an important 3 points, and I think that takes us nicely on to the Steel Men, who've produced another fine display at the weekend. 3 more goals against Livingston, and the bandwagon, if you like, rolls on, Michael.
Yep, and delighted, honestly, absolutely delighted for Jens Bertolascu and for Motherwell, because this is top class football that's being played, and they are deservedly sitting third in the table, and without too much of a stretch, you could be talking about Motherwell being further up, realistically, because you think of the number of points that they've dropped from strong positions or having played well and not being able to pick up the points they deserve. Katrumbas there with the penalty. This one for me is pretty similar to the Boyle one in terms of, I don't think we ever saw a great angle to know definitively one way or the other. I just think once the ref's given it, you've got to stick with it. You can't. Yeah,
and also neither defender really complained as well, which almost feels like a giveaway.
Yeah, definitely. This is just a class team goal. That just is top class. Charles Cook into Longolo's path. You can tell these are guys that are just loving playing football under Jens Bertolascu. And no wonder. I think that's them undefeated in 8 now.
It is.
They've only lost 2 games this season, and they were back-to-back. The Celtic game, by the way, at Celtic Park, which they should never have lost. They were 2-1 up, shot themselves in the foot, and then obviously conceded late on to lose the game. And it was followed up by a home defeat against Falkirk, which there was obviously a bit of controversy in that game as well. But I just think that for Motherwell, it's brilliant. It's such a breath of fresh air to see Jens Bertolascu playing this football, and with a group of players that there's quality in there, but there's not anybody that you're looking at and saying, geez, can't believe they've spent that sort of money on him. These are guys that are what you would regard as players that were probably capable and available for many other teams in the league, but he's been able to pull them together and obviously get in a few others that he's already got his eye on previously, and he's knitted it together brilliantly in the space of weeks, because this has been from the get-go. The first game of the season against Rangers, it was there, and they've only got better. They've scored the same number of goals. No, in fact, I think they maybe scored more, or the same. I think it's the same as Celtic, and their defence is not bad either.
Well, I think it's 4 clean sheets in a row right now, and that's another really positive sign. But also, I think that last goal, Alan, right, that sums them up. Just been mentioned. A manager just must love that. But I think it tells you so much about the confidence levels, the way teams are playing, the fact that somebody wants to even pick that pass, and the confidence to make it, the weight of it as well. But I just think it's such a great positive sign for a football club.
Darrell, see when everybody wants the ball in the team, every single player wants a touch of the ball. The confidence is through the roof. They are so confident with everything that the manager's obviously telling them. They're putting it into practice. They probably work every single day on these kind of movements, getting the ball in areas. They're not scared to try something, a forward pass. If it doesn't come off, right, fine. But for me, the third goal literally sums them up. I mean, that is a difficult place to go. Nobody wants to go there and play them right now. Just the fact that how they're playing and how confident they are. So they're going to be a real problem for teams this season. And I'm like Mike and yourself. How quickly Jens has been able to turn that round and get these sort of performances is quite incredible with the squad that he's got. He's actually made them all better. So it's been brilliant. Jens ball. Jens Ball is here.
January's going to be really interesting though, because I wonder if a few will see value in Motherwell and try and cherry pick some of their players. It always happens when a team's doing very well. So let's see what happens when that season moves on beyond January. But on Livy, Michael, briefly on them, just one win this season. And I think David Martindale was singing the praises, obviously, of Motherwell after the match. But watching the extended highlights, they were just opened up a little bit too easily in the first half, were they not?
Yeah, but Motherwell can do that to teams.
True.
But I mean, if you look at the penalty in particular, Kutrumbis, it's not like it's a overly intricate passage of play. It's up, back, and Kutrumbis is running, and you're looking at the right side of the defence, and you're going, where is it? It was the gaping hole. Lewis Smith, someone to run back to try to cover and obviously gives the penalty away, but he was caught in a bit of no man's land. The whole defensive setup, you're looking and going, that's too easy, far too easy. And confidence is obviously absolutely shattered when you've only won one game all season out of 15 and they're sitting bottom of the table. They're 4 points adrift. I'm just, looking at that there. 4 adrift of Dundee, who are in 11th, and in Kilmarnock, who are in 10th. You've got to be concerned for it. You've got to say they are. I don't see them going on a run that's going to drag them out of what is going to be a relegation battle. So it's sort of buckle up and get the sleeves rolled up, because I think Livingston are going to be in for the long haul. But
they have been in a lot of games and they've scored some crucial late goals as well. So they've got that you never say die attitude.
They've always got character. There's no doubt about that. But I can't see them going on a run of, say, 3 wins out of 4 or 4 wins out of 5 where they could potentially propel themselves into the pack. It feels like they're going to be constantly battling away this season.
Yeah, and there's a lot of quality in the league this season. We've heard managers on this show say that very thing, Alan. On to St Mirren against Dundee United. We know Dundee United have been really inconsistent. You saw them up close and personal against Rangers during the week. Could easily have won that game. Maybe should have won the game.
Should have. Yeah.
And exactly. And then losing to St Mirren. So first of all, on the Saints in this game then, this just feels like a massive win. Cup final around the corner. To get 3 points, huge for them, isn't it, Al?
I think it was really important for them to have a good, positive performance and result. I mean, going into the final, I think you need something. And see, when they play to their strengths, when they get the ball wide, when they get balls into the box, they get people attacking areas, that's when they're good. I mean, you see here, John, brilliant ball in, great header at McMenamin back post. Kerestej, for me, has to do way better as a defender. He doesn't even know he's there. But when I look at Dundee United, I think this was the biggest problem in both boxes. Defensively, they weren't there. They didn't defend situations good enough, 2 balls into the box, and then they weren't clinical when they had opportunities, because they did have opportunities. Sapsford had 2 good ones. But for St Mirren, I just think when they play at their best, like this, getting balls into the box, being aggressive, Dave Richards has to collect that for me. I'm sorry. I know he's just came in, but he has to do better. And they ultimately deserve to win. But I just think Dundee United as well, like they have been inconsistent this season. I seen them on Wednesday. I thought they played really well. They played to a level where I think they probably should have won the game. They were unlucky. Rangers get the penalty in the last minutes. But can you stay at that level consistently? That's where they've struggled, and that's why they've dropped points. So you can see Jim Goodwin's Hutton with a run of form, but for St Mirren, that was a big result for me.
Yeah, on St Mirren first, Michael, it was huge, wasn't it? They can sit back now, relax the rest of the week. Celtic have got a huge game in Europe. They can prepare.
Yeah, well, true. I mean, yeah, that's in the context of the cup final as well. That's a huge win for them, because had they not picked up a win there, then they're going into the cup final in, it's fair to say, not a great run of form. Yeah. Whereas now, off the back of a strong victory, and by the way, we can point to all the incidents, because, Christ, there's been enough of them that have gone against St Mirren.
Oh, my word, I know.
But that doesn't count in terms of the psychology of the players. When you've been on such a poor run and lost so many games, the confidence is still going to take a hit. So that game against United at home was huge for building up to the cup final. And obviously the result at Celtic Park certainly helps as well. And then the massive game that Celtic have got against Roma. You've got to say, look, from St Mirren's perspective, they've got the best sort of opportunity at getting prepared properly, and potentially they've got Celtic coming off the back of a really tough European tie against Roma as well.
They do. Should be a good cup final. I'll come back to that later, perhaps. On Dundee United, Michael, just briefly, Sapsford, after the way he took his goal against Rangers, I thought he was a stick-on to score again when he went through against St Mirren. But, you know, Jim Goodwin clearly not happy with some of the defending. They seem to be conceding, going behind in games too often this season.
Yeah. Well, it's only 1 win in the last 10 league games.
It is. 5 draws in there as well, but yeah.
This is what I was just about to say, that for Dundee United, it's 1 win in the last 10. But even if you look at a few of those, the draw at Tynecastle, for example, they were really good. The draw against Rangers at Tannadice during the week there, they were really good and should have won the game. But they've not, and this is similar to what we're talking about with St Mirren here. As much as you can point to some good performances there, when they're not backed up with results, the confidence is clearly taking a hit. And that early season, well, the European stuff that we saw wasn't brilliant initially. Then the games against Rapid Vienna, you could start to see the progress, which I think led into the early part of the campaign, where you're looking at Dundee United, you're thinking, yeah, this is looking like it should be okay. But 1 win in 10 for a side like Dundee United, that is concerning. And you can understand why Jim Goodwin will be, you know, a wee bit concerned as the busy period at Christmas is approaching here.
Yeah, he was saying everyone needs to stick together. On to Rangers then. Kilmarnock 0, Rangers 3 at the weekend. So Rangers, off the back of what you saw at Tannadice, then produced this Allen. I don't know. What do you make of Rangers now? Do you see any signs of progress? Or defensively, with the personnel they've got available at the moment, could it still be just another disaster around the corner?
I think sometimes you do see green shoots of life, but ultimately as well on the side of they're always one. It's always you're just waiting for the next bad performance to kind of come in, and I just feel they've done well in terms of creating chances at Dundee United. They missed a lot. Don't get me wrong. I think they were probably more clinical against Kelly. They took their opportunities. Miovski, I think that'll do his confidence the world of good, getting 2 goals. But I just still worry defensively. I mean, Kilmarnock had opportunities to score. If they'd been more clinical, I mean, they put the offside flag up for this one, and they ran from his own half, which is quite incredible. They do well there to get back in and clear it. Barron does really well, but I just feel, yes, they have moments where they do really well. From a Kilmarnock point of view, I think defensively you have to be able to close that down. There's like 5 people round Miovski. Somebody just go and try and get tight, but I think he takes it really well because he does it early.
Needed this performance, Alan.
He needed it. He needed it. But Rangers need somebody to put their hand up and be like, I'm your man, I'm your number 9, I'm going to score the goals. Play with a little bit of confidence. And by all accounts, Ruhl had a 1-to-1 chat with Miovski. He's taken to it really well. He's scored 2 goals at the weekend there. But I just feel Rangers will always give you chances. One ball through or over the top, I think there's a problem. I think you need to get the likes of Suter, Cornelius back as soon as possible to help. But yeah, I just feel like you're not really quite sure which Rangers is going to turn up. They've got the capability of putting on a good performance, which we have seen, but I think there is still a lot of hard work to be done.
Mikey Moore in this form as well is really going to help, Alan. I was pretty surprised that goal was chopped off. Yeah,
but I think Fernandes just clicks. I think it's Watson's heels just before it, and I think that's what they looked at, but a brilliant finish. But this is a guy who's come up with a big reputation. He's a young guy. He plays with freedom, in my opinion. He wants to get on the ball. If you put him in the right areas, he can make things happen. But I don't think you can put everything on his shoulders.
No.
Him moving to Rangers, I think he maybe struggled a little bit at the start of the season because the whole team are struggling. But if you put him into a team that's doing well,
he also looks fitter now, Al, stronger as well physically.
He now understands what it takes to play in Scotland. Maybe he thought he'd come up here and it'd be a little bit easier, not as physical, but it is. And you have to be able to deal with that and then go and shine. And that's what he's done. So when you give him in balls in the area where he can go and affect the game, that's what he's capable of.
But you know what it's like as well? I mean, let's be honest. Rangers were a shambles at the start of the campaign.
Yeah.
You know, in terms of to ask any youngster to step into that sort of environment and be the go-to guy, which is what Mikey Moore was effectively heralded as when he arrived. Like, that's madness.
You're asking too much. That's too much.
But because
Russell Martin didn't help.
But that's my whole point. But because also there was no structure there. Like the whole lot were floundering. because it was a shambles. Now, Danny Ruhl is definitely an upgrade. The guy clearly knows what he's doing. Seems like he's a personable guy who, like you just said there, having a one-to-one with Bojan Miovski, he seems like a guy that players could warm to. You have to back that up with results so that the players continue to believe in it. But you've got to say, we've not looked at the highlights there, but some of the decisions.
Well, look, I'm going to come to them. Because obviously Stuart Kettlewell saw red in the game and he was furious. So let's just work through. We've got some of these as just separate incidents to show you then, Michael. Let's just start working through them then, okay?
Here we go.
Diamandi, the pull in the box.
Well, I mean, it actually is baffling how anything other than a penalty kick is here. And I heard other, folk talking about pontificating about what was happening when the ball went out for the cross. It's irrelevant. He pulls him, it goes into the box. You don't know when that foul's committed what's going to happen after it. And it doesn't matter because it's a foul in the box. It's a penalty kick. And how VAR can look at that and say, no, nothing to see, carry on.
I thought it was. See, when I first seen it, I went, oh no, that's a penalty. All day long, that's a penalty. You can't just grab somebody. And it does start outside, but it continues then into the box. So it's a foul. It's a foul.
I know the suggestion was perhaps, Michael, what you're saying was that maybe it was Watson, right? Might not get on the end of a cross. But however,
it doesn't matter.
No, I agree because, you think about penalties given in the box from a corner. Somebody can get pulled down. They might not be getting near the ball, but if it's a foul, it's a foul. So I'm amazed, actually, VAR don't look at that and give that.
And see that logic, Darrell, and I heard obviously other people coming out with it. At what point does then the foul constitute not listening or thinking that he might get on the end of it? If he kicks him, if he pushes him, if he punches him, he headbutts him, does that then mean that, oh, well, it doesn't matter if he gets on it or not? The fact is, he's fouled him in the box, it's a penalty. End of story. What's happening with the ball out there after he's been fouled, by the way, because that's the key point. It's after he's already been fouled, is irrelevant. It's a shocker from VAR yet again.
Alan, what about the Jack Butland one then? Because obviously the Kilmarnock bench were up in arms on this one too.
I think he's lucky. I think the force is there. Like the pace that he runs out. Look, he's trying to get there. I actually think Bruce Anderson just gets a nick, and it's his opposite leg that he's going to tackle with. It looked like with his left, but he hits him with his right, and I just think he's a lucky boy. If I'm totally honest, I think it ticks a lot of boxes for a red card. So again, that was my initial thought when I very first seen it. I was like, oof, he's caught him late here. And it did look a bit of a naughty one and dangerous, to be fair.
Yeah, he comes out with a lot of force, but he's got to come out quickly, Michael, because he's trying to close down the ball. So I get that side of it. However, I can see this from both sides. He's relatively low. It is quite wild. But I think back to Mitov a few weeks ago. And if VAR aren't giving Mitov as a red card when he's halfway up someone, was it Kabore's leg, then, this is where we talk about consistency.
It's because it's low. I think it's because it's low.
Exactly that. So that's why I can see this from both sides, perhaps, Michael.
I would agree with you because, see, I was different from Hutton in terms of when I first saw it, I'm thinking to myself, oh, he's got the ball. A crunching tackle, but he's got the ball. When you watch it again, it's obviously Anderson that's kicked it onto him. But my instinct still is, I'm not really, I'm not 100% sure because you're then saying to yourself, well, what do you expect the goalie to do? What is he meant to do other than...
I can't just stop.
Aye. So I'm a bit torn. But having said all that, when you look at what the thresholds are, and I heard a lot of people talking about, oh, well, Tavernier's round so it doesn't stop a goal-scoring opportunity. Forget about that. If that's a defender who's made that tackle with the force, because for me, it's nothing to do with the goal-scoring opportunity at this point. It's about the force that he clatters into the tackle. Defenders would never get away with that. So this is another example where a goalkeeper, it's very much in the same vein as what happened with Mitov, are being treated differently. And I just don't think that's acceptable.
We'll see what happens the next one. because there is no consistency. That's for sure. Right, listen, we're going to get Cammy Devlin on in a few minutes. Hopefully, he'll be joining us. So we'll talk about Hearts extensively. Can't talk Celtic really with Cammy, can we, Alan? So should we do a bit of Celtic? Should we do a bit of Celtic before Cammy comes on? Obviously, Wilfried Nancy.
Can you wait 2 seconds? I go get my tactics board out, and then we can just go through it.
I knew you were going to go there. I knew you were going there. What colour are your little?
I was buzzing when I seen it. I was like, oh yes, here we go.
Listen, obviously there was a lot said about that, but just on Celtic, because I've seen other managers do that as well. Alan Ruben Amorim does it at times, so maybe a bit too much has been made of that. I get it didn't look great, but
he done it against Grimsby when they got knocked at the cup. It wasn't exactly great, was it?
That didn't look great either.
Well, everybody's just going to jump on it because it's something that we don't normally see within our games. So when they had the wee tactics board out, red, white and blue, moving it all about. It was just because we're not used to it. And I knew as soon as I seen it, I was like, everybody's all over this.
There were some wee green stickers on there, by the way, Al, if you look closely. Yeah. Okay. Look, I would also say this. Celtic went out and got Wilfried Nancy. They got him. He must be doing the same thing in the MLS. You can't expect him to come into our league and change all of a sudden. If he uses tactics boards, that's what he's going to do. But anyway, look, put that to one side.
No, but see on that point, because it is, look, all of that gets defined by the result.
Exactly. That's what I was about to say.
Celtic win the game, then it's not an issue. But you've got to say that you can't ignore it because Celtic lose the game and it's all about perception here. And it definitely feeds into an element of thinking, well, Jesus sakes, he's had that board out God knows how many times. He's moving all this. Does he actually know what he's wanting here? And when you couple it with the fact that Paul Tisdale is asleep in the stand, the optics of those two things are pretty brutal. They're not good. And you can't ignore that, No. So
Paul Tisdale did look great. Listen, maybe he was meditating. Who knows, Michael? Maybe he had a right late night. But anyway, look, as I say, we will come back to Hearts. What I think I just need to discuss with you guys before Cammy Devlin joins us is the timing of the appointment, Michael, because it's such a big week for the club. And obviously, Martin O'Neill, things were just ticking over. The result in the Netherlands was outstanding. Gap was closing the top of the table. All the talk about unification, fans and the board and everything else, that wasn't really a storyline all of a sudden dominating because Celtic were winning. So what do you make of the timing of Nancy being brought in and then, of course, coming in and change the tactics ahead of a week like this?
Well, ultimately, Celtic did not design for him to come in at this week. They were trying to get him a long time ago. But due to visas and paperwork and all that, it's been delayed. And the longer it's been delayed, the better it's got under Martin O'Neill. So you're then saying to yourself, does Celtic make a decision saying, this is the manager we want long term, but we don't want him until a couple of weeks later? How do you have that conversation? That's a tough conversation to have.
Very difficult.
With Nancy. So,
but maybe sensible, Michael.
Possibly. By the way, I mean, in an ideal world, at this point, would you want Wilfried Nancy coming in and he's going to change system, or you've got a pretty good guess that he's going to do that, in the week of, you've got the league leaders coming to your home ground for his debut, his first game in the league, Roma in the Europa League, and the Premier Sports Cup. Do you want him coming in this week, or do you want him coming in next week? I've got to say, you would be saying, let's come in next week and get in on the Monday, and you've got a full week to build up. He had 2 or 3 days to build up to the Hearts game. So, I mean, if I was Celtic, would I have made that tough call? But then it's a difficult one, because you then got to think to yourself, if you make that call and you try to persuade Nancy that he comes in like 7 to 10 days later, is that going to make him start feeling like he's been undermined? Do they believe in what he's doing? It's a difficult one.
Very difficult. And it's made more difficult if you don't win the big games when you first arrive. And obviously that's the situation against Hearts. And Roma were excellent, by the way, against Rangers. And it actually felt like they beat Rangers in second or third gear. So that's another very difficult match in Europe. And because Celtic just went and played so well and won in the Netherlands, there's a wee bit more pressure again on the new manager to go and produce something against Roma. and then the cup final round the corner. Maybe we'll come back to that if we've got time. But I promised all the Hearts fans tuning in that Cammy Devlin would join us in the show tonight, and I believe Cammy is now waiting in the background. So let's get him on the show. Hopefully he's got a good, strong internet connection tonight. There he is. Cammy,
hello.
Brilliant to see you. Brilliant to see you. Thank you for spending the time with us on this Monday night. You must still be on a bit of a high after the whole team's performance at Celtic Park.
Yeah, no, it was really good. I think first of all, thanks for having me on. Good to see you all. It was really good. I think we were due a big performance. I think we obviously started the season so strong, winning a lot of games. That winning feeling was there, and all did with. I guess you can look back now, and we obviously.
Oh no, I'm hoping, Cammy. I'm hoping the Wi-Fi is going to be stronger than this.
Is that an Edinburgh thing?
I'm hoping he's got a good connection. Cammy, we just lost you, mate. I'm hoping your connection stays stable.
Aye.
Just if you don't mind, just continue because we lost you just as you started that answer. Go on, mate. We're back now.
Capital City, and the Wi-Fi should be a hell of a lot better.
Hey, the Wi-Fi is rubbish here. I've turned it off. I'm just using my 5G, so hopefully it works better. But
5G's working, mate. 5G's the answer, Cammy. Go on, mate. As you were saying.
So I think it was a massive game for both teams, I guess you could say, and obviously now just buzzing that we could get that win and feeling back, and obviously going there is hard enough at any stage. But I feel like yesterday, it was built up to be a big game, and thankfully we got the win.
It was a real statement win, actually, wasn't it? Another statement win on this season. We can talk about the team, of course. Look, because you're here, we have to talk about your own form. I've never seen you play better than this so consistently. There's a World Cup around the corner. The contract talks going on in the background. You must be so pleased. What is the key at the moment to the consistency you're showing, Cammy?
Thanks, mate. I appreciate that.
Listen, you come on this show, you get compliments.
Hey, I know. I'll come on more often if it's like this. It's been really good. I think obviously when your team's performing, obviously individuals get spoken about a bit more, and I feel like that's the case. I feel like the whole team's been so good. All the new boys that have come in, and obviously the boys that have been here for a few years now. Obviously this time last year we probably would have been having different conversation in terms of the team's form, and we're at the other end of the table. So to now have turned it around and be sitting where we are, and like you say, I feel like I've had a good start to the season, playing every game so far. So I'm loving it. The new manager's been really good for not only me but the whole team. Just getting us I'm pretty sure he said when he first come in he wants to have a Hearts team that fans wake up on a Saturday morning wanting to come watch them play, and I feel like we've done that so far, and I'm just really enjoying contributing as much as I can, it's like I say, winning games helps everything, so the feeling around the place is so good, and like you say, I feel like I've had a good start, so long may it continue.
Michael, how good a performance was that? You must have loved watching that Hearts performance at Celtic Park.
Absolutely. I mean, obviously, folk like Hutz's message in the group absolutely buzzing as well. I kept myself.
I keep telling everybody. I was buzzing, to be fair.
I kept on council, but watching it at home, I was. I mean, look, this is the best thing that can be for Scottish football is to have the likes of Hearts up competing and ahead of the two Glasgow teams. Competition and a bit of variety. I think it's absolutely brilliant. And
what a header that was, by the way.
It's an outstanding header. It really is. But I mean, look, to go back to the point about Cammy's talking about the manager coming in the summer, and for me, a lot's obviously been made about the players with Jamestown Analytics that have been brought in, but the spine of the team, Cammy mentioned it there, players that have been at the club for a good while. I was wanting to ask Cammy, how big was it for you as one of those guys that had been there for a while when you saw Lon Shanklin signing a new contract? And did that make you feel like, well, by the way, I know my deal's up in a year's time, actually subconsciously thinking, well, there's maybe something happening here?
Yeah, definitely. You're spot on, to be honest. I think because we had a couple of weeks, maybe a week or so training before we went away to Spain, and Shanks then obviously joined us in Spain. And I remember when, you go back there, we had a lot of new faces, so everyone's eager to impress a new manager. So even for us boys that have been here, everyone's basically at square one. So you got to impress. And I remember coming home from training thinking we got a good team here. Like there was a lot of boys, and you could just see the standard of training was really good. And there was maybe just that little bit of like, he's our captain. He's the one that everyone looks to. He's the goal scorer, so he's the difference maker a lot of the time. So I think I text him every single day, and in the lead up to him actually joining us. And yeah, when he just walked through the door, you feel his presence. I think he's such a good player. He's a great mate of mine and a lot of the boys. And yeah, I feel like when he joined and we started training, that the feeling within the group was special. And you can feel that as a player when you're in a change room where you're like, you've got a good manager, you've got a great backing, and when you're at a club like Hearts, you need to be performing. So when you look around and you got boys, that maybe aren't playing at the moment, but if they come in, we've got a great squad. So it's a good place to be at the moment. And yeah, I think definitely when Shank signed, that feeling of we can hopefully be successful was definitely there.
Is it fair to say that when you were noising him up every day that he's going to return the favour at the end of this season and get you to sign?
Maybe he's doing that already, Michael. What can you tell us, Cammy?
No. There's obviously talks in that with my agents. Speaking of the club, I got a great relationship with Graham Jones and the gaffer, obviously. So speaking with them, but no, nothing's happened as yet. But my main focus, and I've made no secret, is I just want to play football. I feel like in the moment that we're in at right now is, if I was to go and make that about me, obviously that you do need to look after your future in that. But I just want to keep playing football, keep enjoying it, keep winning games, and I'm sure the rest of it will just take care of itself.
I'm surprised you're still not tired. The amount of you cover every blade of grass, you just get everywhere. And see when you start noising people up as well. I'm not going to lie, I love it. I love the little just interactions between you and other players. It's brilliant. But is there a real belief between the squad now that you can actually go and do something? Did you think before the Celtic game, all right, maybe the results didn't go how you want them to go, but really sticking together, having that strong core group is really going to help you?
Yeah, I'm still tired, mate. I haven't left my bed or the couch today. I'm absolutely knackered. But no, there is. I think it's a funny game because, like I said, like this time last year for the boys, like myself and the boys that were here last year, was a pretty tough place to be. I think, like as you guys know, when you're at Hearts, you're expected to win games. You're expected to turn up in the big games, and we just weren't doing that last year for a number of reasons. So, kind of had that feeling amongst us to never let that happen again. And like I say, there's been so much change at the club with the manager and obviously the Jamestown coming in and a lot of new faces. And the start to the season was just better than probably anyone would have ever imagined. And you're always going to have bumps and little dips along the way. That's part and parcel. The best teams in the world have that. And it's just about sticking together. I think, like I say, now that we've won yesterday, and hopefully we can just get back on another win and run. When you look back and in that spell where I think we won 1 out of 5, I think it was, or 5 or 6, and you look back and you only lost 1. So those draws, obviously on Wednesday, was so disappointing. We definitely should have won. But you will look back and go, well, at least we didn't lose. You know what I mean? So there is that belief, and it's a long old season. So you just got to stick together, and through the good times and the bad times, you just got to stay level, not get too high when you win yesterday, or not get too low when you lose a game, and just stay level and just see what we can do, because obviously we've put ourselves in a good position now. So just work as hard as we can, stay grounded, and just see what we can do.
One thing we've said, Cammy, in this show is that it does feel, though, the club are in such a great place behind the scenes to go again, to get even stronger. The AGM last week, they were talking about bringing reinforcements in the January window. The Tony Bloom money is there, as used to come back from injury. And he, the small bit that we saw, maybe you can tell us more, looks like such a talented player. Chesnikov's about to arrive as well at the football club. So all of these things just must fill you with confidence.
Yeah, no, it does. It really does. Like I say, there's, to be honest, since I've been at Hearts, there is always a special feeling. I think it's such a great club, and there's a lot of good people around the club. And you're given all the tools to then go and be successful on the pitch. And it's about us as players when you sign at this club is having that responsibility to go and perform, in an environment which can be hard at times. But there's a lot of exciting stuff happening. Obviously, January is just around the corner, and like you say, there's a few boys that I'm sure will come in. And honestly, even all the boys in the door that are at training that maybe you haven't seen so much of. There's so much talent, and something that I've found so positive. Obviously, I've been lucky enough to be playing, and hopefully it can stay that way. But the boys that maybe haven't got the minutes they deserve, or that they haven't just got for whatever reason, there's a lot of talent, and everyone's keeping their head down, working hard, and that's the culture and the environment that I feel like we've created over a number of years now to just be a hard working, humble group. And like you said, mate, it's really exciting, and it's just about us just keeping the head down, working hard, and like I say, we'll see where we get to.
Cammy, I was wanting to ask you about, obviously talking a lot there about, being humble, about the sort of players that have been there for a while, the players that have come in that haven't had a chance. One person I've not really spoken about is the manager. And, you've been through a number of managers at the club. Derek McInnes, I would say, is the most experienced manager you've probably had since you've been there. How key has he been, and what was he saying in the build-up to that game yesterday, for example, that helped or just steered the team in the right direction? Or has it got nothing to do with him?
Hey, nah. He's been great.
You don't want him to get dropped, though, do you?
Nah, I know. I know. So I've got to be careful. But no, he's been great. I think all the managers I've had, have been, had positive influences on me personally in different ways. But I feel like with the manager coming in, he's been great for obviously not only myself, but I just feel like bringing that feeling towards what I think Hearts should look like. Obviously, like he's been around a lot longer than I've been here, and been really successful. And obviously, from what I seen, what he done at Kilmarnock was pretty special, taking him from the Championship to then being in Europe, within 12 months, and always playing against him. It was a real hard game. You knew what you were kind of in for, and when he got announced, I was really excited, and I spoke to him when I was in Australia in the off season, and he speaks really well. And obviously, I'd only shook his hand after a game or whatever, so to have that conversation and to be filled with confidence and just speaking to him was really exciting. And like I say, I feel like looking in, Hearts probably looks a lot better with him in charge, and that's definitely the feeling within the group. He's really good at creating a culture that play for him, and the boys that aren't playing, everyone still is working hard, which can be hard when you're not playing. It's the worst thing in the world. So to have him as our coach, and see his staff that have come in as well, have been really good for the whole group. And winning there.
5G's packed in now, Daz. 5G's packed in.
I can't. That 5G was so stable as well in the cap.
He's back.
Right, Cammy, listen, we just lost the end of your answer. Don't worry, we
got
the gist of it, mate. I want to just, if I can, while you're still with us, and there's so many people, by the way, Hearts fans get in touch. Some of the comments we can't even put in because people are saying they love you, but it's not just I love you. There's a couple of other words in there as well, right? They cannot appear on screen, and that says it all. A couple of other things. We've only got a few minutes, Cammy, but how much did you enjoy the makeup of the midfield at Celtic Park, who you had around you? Because we've said as well on this show that we thought Beningme was such a loss to the team, but it worked really well, didn't it, yesterday?
Yeah, it did. I think, firstly, mentioning Benny, I think he's such a good player. I've been with him. We come to the club pretty much together, and playing with him, most weeks is a pleasure. I absolutely love playing with him. He's one of my good mates, so absolutely love him, and gutted for him to be out. But for the boys that have come in, that's what I mean. There's so much boys that you haven't seen. Thomas, for example, coming in the last couple of weeks, and coming to Scottish football from different parts of the world is hard. I'm sure you know, and he's really come into his own. I feel like yesterday he got put into a different role, playing a bit higher, and kind of trying to take Callum McGregor and Angles in that too a bit out of the game, and McEntee, who goes on to obviously score the winner, but who's been playing right back for the whole season, and then to be chucked into centre mid in the hardest game of the season, I'd say, against the best players in the league. And yeah, it was great. I think I felt pretty safe in there, knowing that I had two boys around me that were ready for a scrap and ready to get stuck in. And it was exciting, and I feel like the game played into our hands in that way of we were picking up a lot of the second balls, and that can be the difference between winning and losing those games. So it was a great battle. Like I say, I love playing against good players, and in that environment. That's why you play football. That's why coming over here was so exciting, and still absolutely loved going to battle with those boys, and coming out on top with
Cammy,
with your mates is the best
I've got
part.
a quick question for you. I didn't realise you were able to speak Japanese as well, because somehow you've managed to noise up a few of the Japanese players in the Celtic team.
He was lashing out a little bit. I don't know about that, but no, I get carried away. I feel like I'm such a different person when I'm on the field to when I'm off the field. I don't know what it is. I think when I'm off the field, I'm pretty chilled and pretty relaxed. But
you just want to win. That's all it is. You just want to win.
I hate losing more than I bloody like winning. But I just as soon as I get over that I got white line fever, I guess you could say, and But yeah, that's not my actual personality.
Couple more just quick ones then before we hit the hour mark, and I'll let you go in a minute. But we have to mention the defence, because we had Craig Halkett on the show earlier this season. Scotland World Cup round the corner as well. I mean, the centre backs, and there's options there too. But when Finlay and Halkett at the top of the game, they are an outstanding pairing, aren't they?
Yeah, no, definitely. I feel like the basis of any good team is your defence. Obviously, you could start with the goalkeeper. We've got a number of goalkeepers at Hearts that are pretty special. Obviously, Alex has come in and been really, really good. Obviously, you see yesterday the save he makes. You've got Craig Gordon, which speaks for himself, and Xander Clark and Ryan Fulton, who are all great goalkeepers. And so having that's a bit of a luxury for us. And then the number of defenders we've got. Obviously, Halks and Stu have been playing all the games pretty much, and they've been really good. But then, like you say, there's so many options with Frankie Can and Jamie Michael, who's playing out of position at right back yesterday. So we're pretty fortunate in that department. We just we need boys to just stay on it, stay fit, and yeah, they've been so good. The pair of them, Halks and Stu. Obviously, there's a lot to play for with, like you say, the World Cup around the corner. And
what about for you, Cammy? What about for you? Because obviously Australia, what a draw that was, by the way. You must be so desperate to get back, not only just the squad. I know you've been in recent squads, but back into that team.
Yeah, that's the dream, mate. I think if that can happen, that would be the best thing ever. Definitely something that I'm looking towards. I think about it every single day. I just watching that draw. I was hoping Scotland got put in our group.
So were we.
That would have been the best ever. But to go to a World Cup is the dream for any person. So yeah, fingers crossed. I feel like you can only control what you can control, and that's trying to play as best you can every week. And that's what I'll try and do, and hopefully it puts me in the frame. Michael,
a final one just to embarrass him then, because a few people have said so far, player of the season in Scotland. What do you think, Michael?
Certainly in with a shout, isn't it? I mean, if you in all seriousness, right? You look at the top teams in the league, and you look at the players that are contributing and playing at the top of their game in that team, and yeah, Cammy certainly is one of those guys. The heartbeat of the team at the moment. So if you continue playing like that, then you're going to give yourself the best opportunity of being in with a shout for Player of the Year, but also, like you've just spoken about, going to the World Cup. If you keep playing like that, you'll go to the World Cup. Simple as that.
Fingers crossed. That's the goal. Hey.
And listen, if you win the league, maybe there's awards coming your way as well. That's the ultimate aim. And what an end to the season that would be for you, with maybe silverware and then a World Cup. That would be it. Cammy. Listen, I'm going to let you go, mate. I've got a couple of promos to do. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Really appreciate it. We'll be watching closely as the season goes on, contract talks and everything else. But thank you so much, mate.
He'll retire if he flaming wins the league and goes to the World Cup.
Hey, listen, long way to go. You'll have a 5-year deal done by then. Cammy, thank you very much,
Thanks
mate.
so much.
All the best, mate.
Good to see you all. Thank you.
Thank you, mate. Right, just before we go, I have to remind everyone, Premier Sports Cup final this coming weekend. Michael Al will be there. St Mirren against Celtic, Sunday, 14th of December, Premier Sports 1. Can't wait for that game. More games on the horizon as well. Aberdeen, Dundee United, just after Christmas. You can also see Motherwell against Celtic just before the turn of the year. Falkirk Celtic on the horizon as well into January. So much to look forward to, including the Cup final. Make sure you're watching that in Premier Sports. Alan, Michael, we've hit the hour mark. Better say bye. Thank you for watching. See you soon.